Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. We are back with another interesting episode or topic, this time explaining RFID, which stands for Radio Frequency Identification, as one of the practical methods of warehousing. And later throughout this episode, you'll find out how we are going to use this method, RFID tags and scanners, to give life to our polyurethane conveyor belt splice. If you're following our channel, you should be aware that one of the ongoing research projects at the Institute is the homemade polyurethane splice, and we are going to make our belt splice talk to us via RFID. That's what makes this episode interesting. Let's start by understanding what is an RFID. Um, A complete RFID system consists of four core components working together seamlessly. Um, that those are the readers, antenna, RFID tag, and the data exchange protocol itself. Um, there's a machine that emits radio frequency to a dead tag. That dead tag becomes alive and sends back some signal to the RFID reader through the antenna that's built in the machine. And the data exchange protocol is based off hex kind of text that is machine readable. Um, the difference, so you might ask yourself that it is kind of similar to barcodes, and why do we need RFID when barcodes has been around for many years? The short, simple answer is that RFIDs are much faster and also more capable compared to barcodes. So with an RFID system, you can scan hundreds of tags at the same time without a need for a line of sight. So as it's written over here, it says no line of sight is needed. RFID reads through boxes, pallets, and materials. So you don't need to have vision on the boxes if you're working in a warehouse, or if you're trying to read some data from something that's not visible or it is behind some obstacles. You can use RFID, whereas if there was barcodes, you would need to have vision on each and every box in the warehouse, or each and every component in a machine to take out those data that are required. So that's the most basic difference between RFID and the key advantage over barcodes. Type of RFID tags are, we're normally dealing with two type of tags. One is passive tag that does not have any battery. It doesn't talk directly to the reader. Whereas the active tags are battery powered, and they um, continuously broadcast signals. So there's no reader needed to power it, and it's normally more expensive compared to passive tags, and it also gives you more ability in terms of the range that data can be transferred. So normally with active tags, we're dealing with 100 meter of distance, whereas in passive tags, as a low cost option, we are dealing with something between 3 to 20 meters. Um, Moving on to the frequencies of these systems, um, the most dominant frequency, which is also called UHF, ultra high frequency, is between 860 and 960 megahertz. Um, these days, that is the most desired frequency. Other frequency bands are LF and HF. LF stands for low frequency. As you can see here, the range is between 125 and 134. And for a high frequency, we are having a 13 megahertz of frequency. And in UHF, we have 860 and 960. The use cases are also outlined on this slide. You can use them, but For our case, we're going to use UHF because we need to read data from longer distance. That's why we're using UHF. That's the same explanation as why UHF is needed. So your reader wouldn't need to be in a close proximity of the tag to read the data. You can have the tag 100 meters away and your reader something next to you, somewhere next to you, and you can still transmit data from the tag to the machine and vice versa. That being said, the accuracy of reading and writing is highly dependent upon the distance between the reader and the tag. So if you want to write accurate data, it is highly recommended to have the tag close to the machine, to the reader, and vice versa. I mean the same for reading accurate data. So if you ended up using an RFID, don't expect to get accurate readings from 100-meter distance. The more closer object becomes to your machine, the more accurate readings you can have. Um, um, there are multiple types of memories on the RFID tags, on the UHF tags. These are typically called EPC, TID, and the user tag. EPCs are electronic product codes. So if you have a part number for a material, for an item in your warehouse, in your operation, this EPC is that one. So you can write and read EPCs based on the products that you're warehousing. TID is a factory code. It's encoded from the factory and it's normally not changeable. So you can have two EPCs. You can have one EPC on multiple TIDs. TIDs just basically the type of tag. It normally returns back to the tag manufacturer. So if you have 10 tags with the same TID, you can have different EPCs on them. And also we have um, user type of memory. It is I've never used that user type. I could have had because of some difficulties in the readability. Um, I could just stick with EPC and it would address 90% of the need. 90% of the need. Um, it stands for electronic product code and is composed of 96 bits. So if we take each English character to take 8 bits, it means that with a 96-bit tag, you can write 12 letters on each tag. So your item part number or date of installation or whatever data you want to write on a tag shouldn't be more than 12 letters, 12 English letters. So it's something to take away. There are obviously more I mean, tags with higher capacities, but the problem that comes with the tags with higher capacity is the complexity of reading and um, some other barriers that makes them inconvenient to use at this time of the technology. TID memories, as explained, is something set by the factory. Um, user memory also never use that. Reserve memory are also something for killing attacks. So if a customer comes into your warehouse, take a product which has a tag on it, you want to make sure that that item is taken out of the stock and also that tag cannot be used anymore. So if the customer comes back into your store, you don't want that item to be added to the stock. Or probably something more sensible when you walk in a shopping center and pick up an item without paying it. Walking out of the gate starts going beep, beep, beep. That's the same thing. It's because the tag is not killed. So what the cashier does, what the person at the register does, is that the person kills the tag so that once you walk out of the shopping center, the tag wouldn't trigger the alarm. Um, it's one other function that you can do, killing a tag or changing the password of a tag to protect the data. Writing data on tags comes all with the machine. So if you have 12 letters that you like to write on a tag, it has to be converted into something called hexadecimal format, or hex. That hex is actually what's written on the tag. And then later on read, and again converted to something, to convert it to English, so something understandable by human. So the language of the tag is hex, and there's a need for conversion between languages, or translation, let's say, between hex and English. RFID tags can be reused. It is very easy to reuse them. So if you don't want to kill a tag and reuse it, it is recommended to set everything first as 0, because if the length of the words are different. So for example, the first word that was written on a tag was 12 letters long, and your new word that you want to write on the tag is 6 words. The first 6 letters of the tags will be written with the new word, and the second 6 letters will stay as it was before. Um, so just remember to set everything as 0 first, write 0000 on the tag, and then um, write the new word on it. So that's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Tags are a bit stupid at the moment. That's why you've got to be cautious about what you read and write. Unexpected tag reads often happens because of the distance, or if there is any radio waves bounced by any metallic surfaces that might be in the environment. Um, the machines are very sensitive. The first time I was trying to use them, I had 2 tags in front of the machine and 20 tags somewhere around the corner in another room. Like it was, the distance was 5 meters. As soon as the machine started reading, although there was only 2 tags in front of the machine, um, on the screen I've seen 22 tags. I was like, what the hell is happening? 2 tags are in front. Why does it read 22? It's very sensitive. That was able to read 20 other tags that was in another room. So um, you might have to block all the other tags that you don't want. Well, actually, we don't need to. You get all the information on the screen, and you can choose which tag you want to write, which tag you want to read. So that's just one point to be cautious about when you first start. And moving to the interesting part, after covering all those essentials of RFID and basics of how does the RFID work, we're going to get to the applications. In the healthcare system, it is used for tracking equipment. We have multiple instances of use in retail industry, libraries, um, tracking, logistics, and so many other applications. But what's important for us gets back to that polyurethane conveyor belt splice, because at the moment none of these splices, the say mechanical splices or even hot splicing, uh, won't give out any information about their date of installation, or if they've been prone to any excessive wear, um, or any kind of data might be useful for a maintenance crew. So what we are trying to achieve is to make those dead um, conveyor belt splicers to talk to our maintenance people on site to make their life easier. Normally, a polyurethane splice would need to be changed, say, every year, and without knowing when that splice was installed first, it is almost impossible to have a good preventative maintenance in place. RFID, the use cases of RFID in construction are these ones. Normally we're facing lost and misplaced assets and tools that can be tracked and monitored in big, large construction companies. If a trader comes in, picks up something and don't turn it back, um, that's a huge loss to the company. So there's a way to track your equipment. Material waste and delivery delays are also uh, can be managed by RFID. The RFID solution that the RFID provides is real-time location of basically all the equipment and assets that you may have. Also helps to stock take and stock management in your business by a lot. Um, so basically, same things are said on this page: tool management, warehousing, stock take. So if you've ever done a stock take in a warehouse, you would probably be um, aware that it may take 3 days to count all the stock in a warehouse. But with an RFID scanner, this whole process can be automated and done in 5 seconds, because with an RFID scanner, you can read hundreds of items in a fraction of a second. So I had a machine that was able to read 250 tags in 1 second. And let's say you have 1,000 items in your warehouse, it would only take 2-3 seconds to count all the stock in the warehouse, something that would traditionally take 3 days. And you can just guess how much energy, time, and capital it would save from your warehouse. These scanners can be compatible with your ERP system. ERP systems are something used for stock control, inventory management, invoicing, so on and so forth. Um, they normally export an Excel file that can be imported in your ERP, and then stock be adjusted accordingly. And yep, like I've said, we are going to use these RFID scanners in our conveyor belt maintenance to to excel preventative maintenance in the conveyor belt system. We want data from our belt, and this is the way we are going to tackle that issue. RFIDs can solve some of these issues that we are seeing on this slide: harsh condition, prone to dust, heat, vibration, and conveyor belts are considered as high value assets because their failure would be equal to halt to the production. So a running conveyor belt assures a constant production, whereas a failed conveyor belt stops the production immediately. So it is always good to have data from the belt via the RFID scanning. The future of RFID is endless. You can have IoT integration, AI-driven predictive maintenance, and real-time asset intelligence on the mining site. And this is where we are going to head. Um, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that this helped your site, your operation, or whatever you're doing um, prosper in the future. Thanks again.